Good morning, the big day has arrived. We are going to be setting off to the World Bodybuilding Summit very, very soon, and today I will be dropping a lecture on progressive overload and the principles behind it. And there's a lot of confusion around what actually makes up your training volume and what true progressive overload principles are. So I am looking forward to delivering some of the things that I think are extremely important when it comes to just simple considerations for applying progressive overload in your training and understanding a little bit more about it and understanding a little bit more volume around it as well, or how to manage volume and understand that progressive overload isn't just about load, it's much more complex than that. Me and John will also be training legs after we have done the lectures at the Expo, so that will be fun. So for now, the day has already started. Client replies are mostly done. It's got three clients competing today and then 2 tomorrow. We've got Andrew and Hem doing the Pride Pro. We've got Hannah, Arthur doing the shows today. It's definitely a busy one, as always. But first, non-negotiables are set. Daily morning activity fasted before food has to be done. Then I'll do some planks and then meal 1 before we head over to the venue. So let's get this started. Game time. Okay, morning activity done. Time for meal number 1. And then we shall be setting off. Digest Far Pro in. We're going to be ready to go. Okay, crowds are filling up, so it's looking pretty good out there. Certainly a lot busier than I expected, so I'm actually pretty pleased. I'm looking forward to delivering my lecture. But first, meal number 2 time. Non-negotiable as always. We never miss. I had my Digest Far Pro. I've got a pineapple, 200 grams of chicken. I've got the obligatory picture of the meal, otherwise it didn't count. Eat this, take a little walk, and then see where the day takes us. Oh, actually, Arthur's just checked in. This is not my first time presenting in a large audience, but not quite as large as this, I don't think. I think the last time I actually did it was my team meet, and I think that was like 120 people, but this might actually be a little bit more. What do you think, guys? It's about 300? So far. 300 so far, and we've only just opened. So I think apparently there's 1,500 people that have signed up or are due to come, so it should be a big one.
John was a big advocate of data, training, the whole 9 yards. When he and I hooked up, he immediately came down to my house with his wife Renee, and we were 7 pounds bigger than last year. The whole physique, just the diet was different, training was much different, the focus was there, everything was there. He's looking down on me right now, he's looking down at you. He's here with all of us today, and I truly hope that he's proud. He's made.
My understanding of training volume and progressive overload principles improved, which is something we're actually covering today. Less training volume. Every single time I've scaled back on my training volume, I actually grew more. And in prep, when I scaled back my volume again, I actually grew in prep. So it's not more drugs, because drugs are pretty much been the same. If anything, I think this year, in this off-season, I probably took less drugs than I did before. So in terms of progression, I think it's just being more dialed in, keeping stress levels low, sleep's always great. I mean, grazie.
Grazie. Say ciao a tutti.
Ciao a tutti. Grazie, grazie mille. Buongiorno Italia! First and foremost, massive thank you to Ludo, the organisers. This is incredible, and I feel extremely grateful to be here, to be able to speak about something I am extremely passionate about with an amazing crowd. So, grazie mille. Massive thank you to my wife for being here. Without her, I probably would not be here, so that needs to be said. So, round of applause, guys. Today, I do hope each and every single person takes something away from today's presentation, which is going to be all about training and how you can utilize progressive overload principles to your advantage and hopefully get the most out of your time spent in the gym. We all aim to try and progress as much as possible, and I think with so much information out there in the internet, I think it's very hard to sometimes see what may actually work or what may not work, as everyone has all these different opinions and theories, right? So hopefully today I can break things down for you as simply as possible so you can digest as much information as I can give you as to how I approach training and the principles behind progressive overload that allowed me to make the progress that I have made and my clients. I think biggest misconception, as always, is most people think it's just about load. More weight on the bar. That's the only way to progress. And that could not be any further away from the truth. If that was the case, powerlifters and the strongest guys in the gym would arguably be the biggest. That's not the case. So we have to understand things a little bit deeper. How can we progress lifts? What can we do to maximize progression? Range of motion, intensity, tempo, execution, exercise setup, load, resistance profile, training frequency. All of these things really do make a difference and actually make up your training volume, but also are a large part of your ability to progress. If you understand how to use a logbook, you need to understand it's not just about measuring the load. When you are utilizing a logbook, you have to track all of these variables, as that is a tool for progression where you only track quality reps, and you have to pay attention to managing your range of motion, your intensity, your effort, because all of this will not only make up a large majority of your training volume, these are the principles behind true progressive overload. Small little things like your exercise setup can dramatically change an exercise, your execution. And most people that come to me when I actually start working with them, the first assessment piece that we do is always the execution part. A lot of people want to get big and strong, right? However, strength is a byproduct of adaptation, of your muscle actually getting bigger. It cannot be forced. You should always aim to get stronger through actually getting bigger, not other way around. So most people tend to rush the process. They tend to sacrifice all of these principles in favor of more load. When we look at progressive overload, load is not the only thing that we need to pay attention to. If it was, like I mentioned before, the strong guys would be the biggest. And very often, we do not see that in real world. Most people only mention working sets when it comes to understanding training volume. When it comes to training volume, your volume indirectly will increase based off how hard you train, your tempo, resistance profile of the machine, again, your exercise setup, your execution, your range of motion dramatically, indirectly increases your training volume. So guess what, guys? The stronger you get, hopefully, bigger you get, the harder you train, the higher your training volume is. More accurate you are with your training volume directly will increase, which means you may need less sets than you actually think. And the best example I can give you, right, is from my prep and off-season this year. Every single time I scaled back on my direct training volume, number of working sets, I made more progress. But the second I was able to do that, the quality of each rep was better. My execution was better. My understanding of resistance profiles was better. My range of motion was better. And the most important thing which is proximity to failure, was also better. And all of this actually comes into play when it comes to understanding your training volume and how training volume changes as your training age increases. You only need a sufficient amount of fuel, calories, to support your recovery and training performance. You only need a sufficient amount of PEDs to do that as well. Taking more, eating more, is not going to translate to you being able to handle more sets, more training days, or more work in general. You have to understand that, guys. Just because you can eat more doesn't mean you will get more out of it. Training to failure or close to failure with heavier loads will also limit your number of sets you are able to perform. And it will also increase how much recovery you need in between your workouts. What also makes a big difference, guys, is exercise selection and resistance profile of that machine. If you are training on an upper-lower split, which is very popular, I can imagine probably a lot of you are, right? Or if you're training with push-pull legs, quite high frequency, you cannot just focus on doing movements that are length and biased. So you cannot focus on doing movements that are just heavy in the stretch. The movements that are heaviest in the stretch create the most damage. If you want to have good recoverability and ability to progress, you need a variety of exercises. It's not just a case of picking the hardest movements and the heaviest movements. It's being smart with your exercise selection to be able to keep repeating progress consistently. You do need to understand that managing fatigue session to session plays a pivotal role in your ability to progress. When I got to understand this, that is when I made the most progress I ever have. Because in my first 10 years of my bodybuilding, I was on a mission to break myself every single session. Was that productive? Absolutely not. Was it fun? Yes. How did I feel? I felt broken consistently every single day. I felt flat. My joints were hurting. I was constantly under-recovered, and I would never take deloads until I got sick. That is not an environment where you make progress. Attack your sets with quality, but also being mindful of not pushing it past the point where it's productive, and at the same time, guys, not to repeating poor quality sets. If you find yourself in the gym and you are not able to perform the sets with all-out effort, go home, rest, come back in the gym when you are able to do so. All about fatigue, right? I mean, that's all you ever hear in the evidence-based world. There's not actually that much studies when it comes to training volume, when it comes to effort. However, when you look up how many studies there are on fatigue, it's actually mind-blowing. However, if you train hard enough, you all do. Fatigue management is actually extremely important. But first, I need you to all understand all of this, right? Stimulus to fatigue ratio, managing fatigue, blah, 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 all the bullshit about fatigue, none of it is relevant until you learn how to train hard. And I mean, you need to learn how to train fucking hard. You need to learn and understand how it feels to break yourself in the gym. You need to understand how it feels to wake up the next day after you've trained legs and struggle to get out of bed. If you do not have these experiences, you will never understand true proximity to failure. I have been extremely fortunate to being exposed to extremely hard training when I was very, very young. At 15, 16 years old, in my local gym, I trained with probably the scariest bodybuilders in town, probably the people that you wouldn't really want to meet in daylight, never mind a dark alleyway. And that was my first exposure to bodybuilding training. And if I mentioned to them I was tired, I would probably get a backhander straight away because that word did not exist. You train no matter what. You was doing the drop sets. You was crawling out of the gym. Please make sure that you first learn how to truly apply yourself before you start considering stimulus to fatigue ratio and how it can impact your training volume and progress. Essentially, stimulus to fatigue ratio is how much benefit you get out of certain exercise and how much cost it involves when it comes to the fatigue it will create. The best example I can give you, right? It's like comparing a bicep curl to a deadlift. You can probably do 5 sets of a bicep curl in a single session. It's not going to create much fatigue, right? If you can deadlift a lot of weight, 1 set of deadlift, probably with 1 rep max, is going to probably wreck you. Unless you're Keefe Weston, it probably won't. If you're Keefe, you can 1 rep max every single week, no problem. Stimulus fatigue ratio does not apply to you. But in reality, us mere mortals, it does. So you have to pay attention to how you actually feel when you train. How did you feel coming away from that session? How do you feel coming away from these sets? Generally, if you feel smashed into the ground, you probably need to consider your stimulus to fatigue ratio and how it can impact your training volume and tolerance of training volume, tolerance of your training frequency. It really does make a big difference. And ultimately, when it comes to managing your progression, it can literally make you or break you. People are very delicate in the UK, right? They've got a lot of feelings and emotions, especially the older guys. They're extremely, extremely resentful of anyone who has any different ideas. And they always badmouth the logbook. And I still get it on my YouTube and Instagram constantly with guys with fake profiles, saying, you don't need to be tracking your lifts. Well, Dorian Yates did it. He was the pioneer. And how many years ago was that? 30 years ago now? Tracking your lifts is a tool that allows you to not only see if your training volume is accurate, it allows you to see if your stimulus and fatigue ratio is not skewed one way or the other. It allows you to understand if you can tolerate more training volume or if you potentially need to pull back on your training volume. The only way to see if you are on the right path to making progress is through tracking your lifts. The same principle applies is when you attempt to diet, right? A lot of people who are not that into bodybuilding always try to diet without tracking the calories and never get anywhere. So why would you not track your lifts if tracking your food is so important when you are trying to gain weight or lose body fat? The same principle applies. Tracking your lifts will tell you everything you need to know about your programming, about your recovery, about your exercise selection. It's the most valuable piece you can have within your training to be able to maximize your progression. Your logbook is an amazing tool that will give you an accurate representation of your progress, but it's so much more than that. It's your training diary. Use it and make most of it. Take advantage of being able to take these notes and even refer back to them to see where you can improve. Your logbook is going to be by far your best training partner. I've had some amazing training partners in the past. My wife helps me now. My training partner's left me, he's gone to Dubai, unfortunately. The only thing a logbook won't do is load your plates on and off like my wife does. So you'll probably have to get yourself a Meg. Next slide, please. Everyone is claiming now that you should be only working in very low rep ranges. And there is counter arguments to this, right? Low rep ranges do have their merit. However, in my opinion, you still need to learn how to train in a variety of rep ranges. Take John, for example. We were training push the other day. I asked John, what rep range are you working in? He was like, I kind of want to stay around 10 reps here. Now, this goes against the arguments of what the current research is supporting, which is you should only do, 5 to 7, 8 reps to limit fatigue, right? I mean, it's not doing John any bad not having to limit that fatigue, is it? Especially if I was looking right now. So when it comes to rep ranges, guys, explore different rep ranges. See what rep range you like the most for each different exercise. I do have my theories that are personal to me, and I do prefer certain rep ranges for different exercises. If I was to tell you to do 5 reps with a cable curl or a bicep curl, a rear delt fly, for example, I mean, come on. It's not going to lead to great execution, is it? So your rep ranges have to be appropriate for the exercise they actually pick. If you was to do a set of hack squat, right? And I'm telling you to do a set of 12 reps on a hack squat with great control, full range of motion, perfect tempo, that set's probably going to last 90 seconds. It's not realistic to keep composure unless you're an endurance athlete for all that time. That is generally when the execution will break down and you are trying to just get reps for sake of getting reps. So pick your rep ranges appropriately based off your exercises. Some exercises like the leg press, that's probably a great opportunity for you to explore slightly higher rep ranges. Try and work things out for yourself. Do not blindly follow the data because it is a great reference point, but ultimately it comes down to preference. It comes down to what you enjoy and how you can work out to keep showing up to the gym with excitement to train and being able to repeat that over years and years. That is what will lead to most progress being made. Effort and the perception of effort will also change with training age. What you thought one day was a hard set, as you train for longer, somewhere down the line, you will understand that that set wasn't an actually hard set. So training is a process, guys. It's forever evolving. You will always learn new things. You will always learn how to apply yourself better and harder. Not just harder, but better. Can you train too hard? I definitely think you can. I can probably give you an example with John taking over Sean Clarida's training and setup in general. His job has definitely been pulling him back with the effort across everything that he does. Because you can train too hard, you can do too much. And guess what? It's not going to lead to more progress, it's going to lead to less progress. A huge consideration to make is when you learn how to apply yourself and train hard, that is when a volume reduction / less number of working sets may be the right way to go in order to see more progress. It's not just a case of adding more sets. You may need to pull back and then see what kind of progress that will yield by focusing on just progressing your lifts within slightly less work per session. Next slide, please. There will come a time where you get to a point within your physique development where specificity matters. And that is when sometimes your stronger body parts may require a volume reduction, especially when you've nailed down all of these variables. You will likely need to reduce your training volume in favor of your weaker body parts where the volume then may need to increase. But first, you need to learn how to apply yourself with effort, nail your execution, exercise setup, tempo, range of motion. All of these things are priority before you add extra sets or load on the bar. You come in the gym, you stimulate the muscle to grow, you go home, you eat the food, right? You sleep, you recover. Hopefully, your muscle adapts by the time you go in the gym next. And then guess what? You should be able to lift more. However, the reality is you are not going to be able to make progress every single session, and you should not expect to make progress every single session. Even me, full of test and growth, I do not expect to make progress every single session because progress should be done through process of adaptation. It's a byproduct of your muscle adapting to the stress. Therefore, you should be able to then lift more over time. But guess what? It's not instant. So, patience, my friend. Patience with your training, your progression, patience with everything that you do in bodybuilding is what will lead to more progress. I actually started PTing when I was 17 years old. So I PT'd probably 8 hours a day, 5 days per week from the age of 17 until I was probably 22. Seeing people train in person, but also assessing videos of my clients, all of my clients send over training footage. I can see who truly trains hard and who puts it on. I can see with the speed of the rep. I can see it with the body language. I can see it with the facial expression. I can clearly see who is actually applying themselves and training with close proximity to effort, because I can not only see the speed of the rep, but facial expressions, body language. It really says it all. Another thing you've got to understand is when someone hasn't been exposed to hard training and hasn't been showed how to train hard, they won't have an understanding of what hard training is. I was extremely fortunate that I was forced to train hard, because if I wasn't, and if I didn't train hard, I would have probably got kicked out of that gym. So it's a tough one. And sometimes you've got to give your guys, whoever you're working with, tough love and tell them straight, you're not training hard enough. You probably had 5 more reps in you. I can tell you now, some of the athletes that I'm working with, that I've worked with for many years, that have won major titles, I had to tell them that set, in a polite way, but that set was mediocre. It was terrible, in a polite, constructive way. You simply have to remember, training hard, learning how to train, it takes time, right? I've been bodybuilding since 16 years old. I'm 31 years old now. I am learning every day because one reason, I'm obsessed with it, but it's also my passion. I'm happy when I'm training. And I also understand every year I learn more. I learn how to apply myself even better. So do not be disheartened if you feel like you're not training hard enough. You will get there. When it comes to life in general, what drives me is I came from an extremely poor background. So even right now, I feel like I could literally be back to having nothing again tomorrow. The sad reality is I feel like that every single day, where I feel like I need to do better. I need to work harder because in back of my mind, I constantly have a fear that I'm gonna end up with nothing like I basically started because, I'll give you an example, right? My biggest fear when I was going to college was the fact that I only had like 3-4 pieces of clothes, right? And in college, in the UK, you don't get to wear uniform anymore. So you have to wear your normal clothes. And I just simply did not have enough clothes where I knew I'd have to come into college basically wearing the same shit. It's a mindset that never allows you to truly relax. And it's something that I'm trying to work on, but it's also a mindset that never allows you to get complacent because I'm forever trying to do more. I'm forever trying to work harder to never end up in the position that I was in. And I've always been the same. Even right now, me and my wife have built a great life, right? I should never ever feel like I'm going to end up with nothing, but I wake up every day sometimes feeling like everything I have is going to be taken away from me tomorrow. Sometimes it's probably a sad life to live, but I also probably need to work out how do I get over that fear, but at the same time, I have also found a way to lean into that fear, and I think the reason why I have been able to do what I've done is because of that. Always wanting to be better, always wanting to create a safety net for me and my wife, always wanting to have a better life for myself and people around me. And I think if you use that sort of fear, it can be probably a positive thing, but at the same time, you also need to work out a way to appreciate where you are, which is something I very much struggle with. I mean, I'm incredibly grateful to be here right now, but it's, you know, even tonight or tomorrow, I'll be thinking the same thing. I need to do better because what I've got right now may be taken away from me. I might not be able to do it. It's always that mindset that's in the back of my mind, like something's gonna happen where it all just perishes.
I think there are some things that can never be taken away. For example, you see all these people here for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It cannot be taken away.
Yeah.
And over your path, over your growth, you not only build muscles,
Yeah.
some muscles, but there is something more deep inside of you.
Yeah.
Like it cannot be taken away, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to ask you,
Are you proud of yourself as much as we all are proud of you?
I'll be honest, I'm not, because I'm not the person I want to be yet. And that's what pushes me forward. Like I've got like a vision of the person that I want to become, but I'm not that person yet. And until I get to be that person, I can't really say I'm proud of where I am now because there's still a lot of work ahead, right? So it's like, I'm grateful to be in the position I'm in right now because I'm doing everything I ever dreamed of as a kid. I dreamed of this when I started bodybuilding. But at the same time, I'm nowhere near the person I want to be at. So me saying I'm proud, like, to me, that almost forces me to think like I'm getting complacent. But at the same time, that's something I probably need to work on from a mindset perspective because it's probably not a good thing, but at the same time, I'm just being real, that's how I feel, right? I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, yeah, I feel proud of myself, you know, but it's just not the case. And I think every person probably has the things that they need to work on and kind of use in their own advantage without letting it consume them and destroy them, because the things that I have going through my mind sometimes, I mean, I know for a fact it probably destroy other people, but it allows me to kind of lean into it and just keep driving to be better.
you should be proud but not satisfied.
Yeah, proud but not satisfied, I like that.
That's it.
Yeah.
I would say that.
Grazie mille, grazie mille.
So guys,
One thing I want you to remember, right? You can do things by yourself, right? You can do things alone. But I'll tell you one thing, right? I could do everything I do right now on my own, but I would not be the person that I am today. I would not be able to do what I do today, not even close without her. So what you see here, it's not just me. A massive, massive portion of what I do in everything is down to her. Her help, her support, and the hard work that she puts in on all fronts. She is the hardest working person I know, and I would not be here today standing in front of you and speaking to you all if it wasn't for her. And I would not be the person that I am. I would not have the coaching team that I have today. And my life would not be the same, so. Grazie mille. Go on, you narrate, make them do a pose down.
So, to be fair, guys, I don't know where you come from except
Oh, yeah. Oh. Let's go. That's better. More power, come on. And drive. Good. Again. Work time. And drive. One more. Work, come on. Five more. Five more. The rest and digest. That's what it's all about. I think the best rep range is ultimately going to be exercise specific, but also what feels good for you, right? Now, Nick has trained in higher rep ranges, but if you look at his latest training videos, he's actually back to training lower volume with more appropriate bodybuilding rep ranges, right? Which is generally going to sit anywhere between 6, 12, 15 reps. Realistically, when you look at rep range, right? When I like to select a rep range for an exercise, it's going to be dictated by my ability to execute that lift. If I pick an exercise where I do 8 repetitions or even 10 repetitions, right? Sometimes your limiting factor in your ability to execute that lift will be a gas tank. So let's take a hack squat, for example. Mr. John Jewett actually did a great high rep set earlier on the hack squat. If you was to go above the rep range that you did, the likelihood of your form and execution breaking down is much higher. So if it was a perfect set, but if you was to try and aim to get more reps and more reps on such a challenging lift that is going to impact you so much and your ability to breathe and brace, the likelihood of you getting injured is much higher. So I think your rep ranges do need to be specific towards your lift, safety, enjoyment, and your ability to execute that lift safely. And this is where I think practical evidence can actually come into play a little bit more than what we see in studies, because they don't do studies on people like John or myself or Mike or 100% or all of my clients. So when it comes to bodybuilding in general, we probably have a lot more real anecdotal evidence, which I think is probably more effective than some of the studies that are performed on claimed trained individuals. But when you actually look at the trained individuals, they are not trained individuals by our standards in some of the studies. I think you have to take things with a pinch of salt, right? Like at the moment, you do have a lot of popularity around lower rep work, and I would agree to a point. However, you get someone like John on a hack squat to do 6 reps, he's going to be doing 4.5, 5 plates on a hack squat like that outside. And then guess what, guys? His connective tissue is going to take a beating. 1 rep that's missed or a slight position change potentially could put him at risk of a career-ending injury. So you need to think of the bigger picture when it comes to rep ranges in general. Yes, take in the information, but also trial things out for yourself and do what feels good for you. And most importantly, stick to a rep range that you can progress in safely without your connective tissue taking a beating over and repeat, because then that is short-lived. With your training, you want to create as much of a runway for progression as possible. And that sometimes means selecting a rep range that feels better for you to progress in and stay safe in. Anyone? A lot of people feel tired, but they are not actually under-recovered. Results don't care about your feelings. That's one of sayings I like to say to a lot of clients, and I see this very often, and I even experience this myself. I may feel tired, but my training performance is not impacted. So how you feel, to a degree, does not play a role in your actual progress. What matters the most is your ability to perform. And your training performance sometimes may not be affected through just general fatigue. And there's different types of fatigue, especially Menzo can probably dig into. There's, you know, supraspinal fatigue, there's CNS fatigue, there's all these different types of fatigue, right? And they all do play of different things, right? But essentially, what matters the most for you, goal guys, is this. If you go into the gym and you take very easy progression, you never feel tired, never feel sore, and your logbook progression's flying, guess what? Add more sets. See how you get on. If you add more sets, progression comes to a stop, you're doing too much. It's as simple as that. But the only way to gauge that is, 1, you have to track your lifts. 2, you have to be in control of your variables, which is your calorie intake, your sleep, your hydration. If any of these factors are skewed, this may actually impact your training performance. This is why a lot of people fail to use a logbook, and you see this with very high level bodybuilders that are not really on point with these small little variables. They'll use a logbook, or they try to attempt to use a logbook. 1, they rush the progression. 2, they do too much volume. They're not really on point with hydration, recovery, and the day-to-day routine. They train at random times every single day. I mean, if you want to track your lifts, unfortunately, you need to have a little bit of a boring lifestyle where you do the same shit every single day. You go into the gym, same amount of water, same amount of food, and then you truly have accurate way of gauging your progression. The reason why I personally do like drop sets of forced reps or sets past failure is it doesn't really give me a quantifiable measure of progression either. And if it's done randomly as well, you may just trash yourself within that week. That's not really an indicator that you're doing too much. It's just that you've overdone your proximity to failure. So the more things you can keep standardized, the better idea you have of what volume you can tolerate. But on paper, it sounds easy, right? But the hardest thing for me to get clients to do is literally go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. That's literally the hardest thing. On paper, it sounds so easy, right? But it's literally the biggest hurdle. Same with meal timing, same with water intake, same with sodium intake. It's the small little things that really do make a massive difference. And to some people, might be overcomplicating it, but these are also the people that don't understand the value of paying attention to these things and haven't seen the merit it actually brings to your progression.
Watch your Instagram, and they all do something to the community because of you. From us, Andrea Musica, from Italy, I want to say thank you for working with us. And look at this light. Each of these lights is a soul, is an athlete.
Grazie mille.
For everything you do, for being here with us tonight, for inspiring us. So please.
Grazie. That was fucking class to be fair. Grazie. Grazie mille, grazie.
I thought about you.
That is amazing.
Thank you.
Wow.
And there's also a little note that you can read like later.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
I mean, I bought the ticket in like May, and when I knew that you were coming, I thought like I need to give you something.
That is incredible. Thank you so much.
I don't know, maybe on your desk or whatever.
That will go in my office.
Thank you.
That is incredible. I'm going to put this in a bag now so I do not lose it. Has allowed me to just continue to evolve and apply myself with effort. Oh man, that is a wrap. World Bodybuilding Summit is complete. So we are out. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed the content from entire week and the weekend. The work doesn't stop, but for now, love you and leave you, and I will see you again next week or tomorrow, the day after, depending on when the next video drops. Guys, thank you. Take care. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Write that down. We're out.